Hello everybody and welcome back to the Two Norries podcast. As always, I'm joined by Timmy Long.
Hi everyone.
And this week we have Cork City and Hull Corinthians player Brian Lenihan. How are we keeping, Brian?
Oh, good, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming out to meet myself and Timmy. When I put up on social media you were coming on the podcast, there's a lot of people excited. There's a lot of people love you out there and you're well known. But for those who might not know you, who are you and where you're from?
Who am I? I don't know who I am. But I grew up in Douglas. I've my mom, my dad, my sister, and I think football from the age of 4 or 5 was just my life. So I was lucky. I live very near Corinthians, so I started out there and began to love football more than anything in the world. That kind of brought me along a certain amount, but I think in the end my career, if you want to call it a career, was an epic failure. But I've accepted that, and I'm moving. I'm a lot happier now than I was when I was playing football.
Good.
So I can't have any complaints.
Good, and that's great. It's great to be able to, look back at the disappointments and kind of accept it, But what was it like playing for Corinthians? Like my knowledge of Corinthians is that they always win.
More often than not, but I think that's just because there's such a big pool of children around that area that are coached from their 5 up until whatever. I think that creates kind of an envy with other clubs. Not that Corinthians is better than any other club, it's not. It's just they have a good system there and good people and good coaches. Like there's people who've coached me at 5 years old are still there now coaching. People like Terry O'Donovan and other people. So yeah, it was a really brilliant club.
Yeah. And they have a great setup out there.
They do. They have a great setup, and they're trying to build a full-size Astro now at the moment. So yeah, things can only get better for them.
Yeah, definitely. And then you made your way into the League of Ireland.
I did. That was probably the most enjoyable part of my career. In 2014, when I started playing under John Caulfield, and we had a really good team. I think we kind of overachieved, and it galvanised the whole city. I remember being on the bench when Tommy Dunn was the manager, and there might be 2,000 at it, and then when we got to 2014, there was 6,500, 7,500 people coming on a Friday, and it's like such a good feeling.
How old were you back then?
19.
19?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable feeling playing week in, week out for your hometown club with friends. Like, as I said about John Kavanagh, was one of my friends, playing with him, playing with players like Colin Healy, Garrod, Marky Sulls. Yeah.
But that was a great year. I was at all those games of that year with my friend Richard. We used to go out every week. And you're right, it was a full house nearly every week, and it didn't matter who you were playing, there was always a full house. And then if it was Rovers or Dundalk, you're lucky to get a ticket type of thing,
Brilliant.
And there was a lot of big games as well. I was talking with Garrod last week, a lot of late goals and big, it was so exciting in the city at the time.
Unbelievable, it really was. The buzz of playing. I remember kind of when we were ready, the other team would be tipping off at the start of the game, and I was there to myself, just looking around like, wow.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, there's kind of a nervous energy or whatever, but I remember going to the game in 2005 when they beat Derry in the last game of the season, and everyone invaded the pitch, and I was running. My dad was like, "What are you doing?" I was running down the wing pretending I was Liam Kearney, and well, I ended up playing with Liam then.
You did, yeah. As you say, I always, dreamed as a young fella. I never got to play on Turner's Cross turf. Like, did you, Tim?
I remember as a child, I wanted to be a footballer as well. And I used to be out the front of the estate. We lived in Arcullen. There was a green area in the middle of the estate, and I'd be out there in the rain, and I'd be doing laps around the little green. I'd be putting say bottles and stuff in the middle of the pitch, and I'd be going to the first one and back. I really wanted to be a footballer, and I played schoolboys with St. Mary's, and we had a fantastic man over us at the time, and to this day I still look at him as one of those good people in my life when I was young. His name was Ned Connolly.
Okay.
He's from Cathedral Road. He was very, very good to me. But he died a few years later. I think he had cancer or something like that. But he was a fantastic man, But I always wanted to be a footballer, But
you were good too, Timmy.
I wasn't bad. I was always on the Cork teams. You have Mary's, and you did pick, what is it?
The schoolboys.
Yeah. And I enjoyed that, You know, and I was one of these people that put other players on a pedestal.
Yeah.
But I was as tough as nails then. You know, I'd get stuck into anything. I wasn't the fastest player or the most skillful, but I had a massive heart. I had a lion's heart, and I'd go hell for leather for the team. I'd run into a wall.
Yeah.
You know, but
do you want to tell us, and you don't have to if you don't want that, do you want to tell us about the time the game got abandoned of you?
I'm putting the spot here. Look, now, do you know, just listen, I had a fiery temper during games, and sometimes it came out the wrong ways. You know, sometimes during games. No, this was just junior football. No, James had to get this one in, like. But you know, the life I lived, there was a lot of violence in my life, and I had a lot of anger issues, and you know, many times my arm was swinged, you know, for people, which was unfortunate, but for some people at times. But you know, it was football. It was always after the game. I always went up and I apologised or whatever. Or some people wouldn't. They'd kind of, you know. But I was very passionate about football.
You were down a cove to me, were you?
I was down a cove for a year. I was brought down by Martin and Stephen Henderson was down there. I could never give it my full football. I'd never give it my full because of the drug addiction and everything else that was going on in my life. But I really, really loved the game, and I still to this day, without being arrogant or big-headed about it, like, I feel if I had the right guidance at a young age, because I had that drive and that heart, I probably would have done well. I really do believe in that, you know.
But you know what, it just goes to show, and you can have similarities there. It's like you can have all the talent in the world, but you need a bit of luck as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I remember that season, as I said, in 2014, like you stood out on the pitch, you know what I mean, and we used to watch every week, myself and my friend Richard, and we're like, Brian is going to get the call, you know what I mean, Brian is going to go because like he's only 18 or 19, there's so much potential there, and you went to Hull.
Yeah, I was very lucky. Obviously we were doing well with Cork City, and I was playing well, and everybody was playing well, so it was great. And then some clubs started to come to watch my games and stuff, so kind of eventually it was either Brighton or Hull, so I went over to see Brighton. It was lovely, but the manager was Sammy Hupia, and he never called me in and said, oh, this is why we're signing you, I want you to do this and this. It just didn't happen. Whereas when I went to Hull, I met Steve Bruce, and he was talking to me and saying they really want me to sign, and kind of.
So it was that personal connection?
Exactly, yeah. So that's what kind of made my decision for me.
They were Premier League at the time as well?
Yeah, Premier League. So I started in training with them, and I was doing quite well. I think Ireland had like a short Seamus Coleman and a couple other players were injured, so I got called up to the senior team.
What was it like training with the Irish team?
Unbelievable. It was weird, like players like Robbie Keane, Shane Long, Roy Keane obviously being there, Martin O'Neill. Because a few months earlier I was playing against Bray away or whatever, and now I was up with the Irish team, so that was a great week.
Does Roy Keane, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want that, does he treat the Cork fellas better than the rest?
I'd say he does. I think that's in his nature.
Yeah, I think so.
He loves people from Cork.
Yeah.
Especially the north side.
Yeah. He's welcome on the podcast, by the way.
I always looked up to Roy Keane as a player. I was a very, very similar player to him. You know, tough, really, really passionate about the game. You could probably see it in my face. You know, but I just love. He's my favorite. There we go. Ron has his jersey on. Well, he was my most favourite player in the Premiership. You know, ever, I'd say. And I just loved watching him. Not just because he was from Cork, it's because the fans loved him. He was a tough player. He always done the right thing, and he was always there. And he threw a few F's as well at the other fucking players that were just pussyfooting around. That one, you know.
Him and Vieira in the tunnel, that's brilliant. That wouldn't happen today. They'd both be sent off.
You know,
and banned, I'd say.
But you know, when he was at his peak as well, you know, he was playing in the Champions, a great United team now as well. Like he was the leader, but playing against the likes of Zidane and Rivaldo, Luis Figo, Ronaldo, and Keane, like you know, he'd be man of the match in
He'd
games
still
like
stand
that. Like,
out. Yeah.
And he's from Mayfield, and it was
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ. Do you know what I mean? We could all be fucking, it's all there for us too. He's only from, you know, he's from the same city as us, you know.
You'd have to love the other side of him as well, even the commentating at the moment.
Brilliant.
He is straight out there.
He's cutthroat.
He'll tell you how
That's
it
what
is,
people need.
You know?
That's why everyone's delighted with him on Sky, is because he's so brutally honest.
Yeah.
And no one can question him, because if someone questions him, is it, I've got 7 Premier League titles, I have a Champions League, I've 4 FA Cups, I have this, I have that. Who are you to question me?
Yeah. Whereas it, like, you know, sometimes, and I like Richie Sadlier on RT. I like Richie Sadlier, but sometimes he gets trolled online. He gets a bit of hate online because his career was cut short through injuries, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he makes very valid points. But some people throw it in his face, you know. But you know what, Roy Keane, doesn't matter what he says. He's been there, done it. He was in the best team in the world. He was one of the best midfielders in Premier League history. So everything he says with authority because he can, you know.
Exactly.
And it's great then because half the other fellas on Sky Sports are afraid of him.
Yeah, they are actually. It's, half of them are terrified in case he goes off on one, you know.
But look, we digress a small bit. So you went off to Hull. What was it like? Was it a big step up from League of Ireland?
It was, to be honest. Like, the training was a lot quicker. You know, people who know or play football know what boxes are. So basically you're around in kind of a circle or whatever, and there's 2 people in the middle and you have to keep the ball away from them. I was terrible. Like, I thought I was good at Cork City, which I was, but went to Hull then, it was just really difficult. But eventually I settled in and went on loan to Blackpool, played 2 games for them and got injured for the first time. I injured my knee. So then I came back to Hull and I was out for about a year.
What kind of an injury did you get?
My patella tendon.
Okay. That's behind the kneecap.
Yeah. So then I got back fit from that, started playing a lot of games with the under-23s, and then I made my debut for Hull against Bolton in the Championship. And then 2 days after that I played in the under-21 Premier League Cup final against West Ham. And I injured my knee in the first half, but I didn't really know it was injured.
Same knee?
Same knee. So I played all of the game, played extra time and took a penalty, all with my knee in pieces. But I didn't notice.
Adrenaline was keeping you.
The next morning I woke up, my knee was about that size. So I went into training. Just after making my debut, things were going to go well. And then bang, this happened. So it was kind of another big thing to deal with.
Do you know, like when you're 20, 21 and you're over in England with Hull, and then you're out for a year, like, I'd say it's very frustrating, isolating.
So isolating. Obviously the physios are brilliant and they're well trained, not only to treat you physically but manage you mentally as well.
Yeah.
And lots of people tried with me, but my mental health was fairly bad. Like,
Do you know, for the first injury, was it bad for that as well?
No. The first injury was like, look, this is just after happening. It can happen to anyone. I'll get back stronger, which it did. Then it happened again 2 days after making my debut.
You know what's ahead then again, like.
It was kind of got back fit from that injury then, and we were relegated to the Championship. So I was like, this is my year. I'm going to play. So I played every single pre-season game, and then before we played Aston Villa, the manager dropped me. For what reason I don't know, but
Was it Steve Bruce at the time?
No, the Russian manager.
Oh, okay. Check who that manager was, Ron.
Leonid Slutsky.
Oh yeah. So he was at CSKA Moscow for years, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he didn't like me, and I didn't particularly like him either. It was kind of after that my mental health kind of deteriorated, and I was contemplating suicide. And
were you on your own over there?
No, Bailey was living with me at this point. So
I'd say it was tough for her too.
Oh, so hard. What I put her through was just criminal, and my family as well.
But you know that wasn't your fault then as well. Like, you know, like, yeah, I done the same stuff to my own wife and my own family, like my own mental health. You know, we act in ways that we don't understand. You know,
you're not thinking rationally, like. You know?
I think I have a lot more understanding of it now since the help I got since I came back to Cork. I'm in St Finbarr's Hospital, and I've a key worker, I've a nurse, doctor, psychiatrist, social worker, all helping me to get where I need to be. Because what my GP said to me, I just went into him and I said, I can't understand why I can't be normal. He said to me, he was like, when what happened, there was a fire in your brain. Like, that fire is out, but the earth is still scorched. I thought that was a really apt way of putting it for him.
That's a brilliant way
for me to understand.
Yeah, that's unbelievable way to put it.
Yeah.
But once you've scorched earth, you can get fertile earth over.
Exactly.
It,
It'll come in.
Go stronger.
Farmers burn fields to create.
Yeah.
So he put it like that to me, and I kind of went, "Wow, that's a good way of putting it."
Yeah.
There's no fire, but there's damage.
And it's not completely destroyed, like.
No,
There's a way back. Do you know when the second knee injury happened? Was the exact same injury?
No, it wasn't. The second injury, I tore my condyle surface, which is like a cartilage. It's really, really delicate. So it like tears up, and they just go in and snip it and clean it up. But it doesn't actually regenerate or fix itself. So I still have trouble with my knee now on a daily basis. But I'm not training or playing or anything, so it's not too bad.
Do you know when the second injury happened to you? Did you make were you out for a long time again?
9 months this time.
Was that a career ending?
No, neither of them were career ending. They're just career.
They affected your mental health?
Exactly, affected my mental health, affected my progress as a player.
Yeah.
Because like when I went there, when I was 19, when I was doing well, I was the good young player. But by the time I got back to his good young players, 2-3 years younger than me. So I was never really in the picture to play.
So probably your best developmental years you probably missed, you know, in the couple of years where like you was really growing your game, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know the second injury then? That's when mental health kind of went downhill.
After that, yeah, it was kind of went down, and then I got back fit and I was playing well, so I was happy, and I thought I was going to play. And then that new manager came in and played me for every pre-season game, and then just chucked me to the side. So. And
what happened then? Were you stuck in the reserves or?
No, I wasn't even playing with the reserves. I was just training every day, but not playing.
Isn't it amazing how a relationship between a player and a manager can actually affect how a team plays? Like,
absolutely.
Instead of just taking your relationship away from the situation for managers and just looking at the player as in he should be playing, he's one of the top, he's one of the 11. And just playing him instead of just being nasty about it. Do you know what? No, I don't like this fella here, or he's going on the bench.
It's true. It just shows as well how important man management is. You know, and like manage your players. Like a good few players that was at United, they say the best thing about Alex Ferguson wasn't the tactics or anything like that. It was he knew every player in the club. He knew their mother's name. He knew their grandmother's name. And even if you were dropped, he'd make you feel like fucking Hercules. Like Rooney said in a few interviews, like, if I wasn't playing and I was being rotated or rested or whatever, I'd still feel like I'm doing a big thing for the team because he'd have managed me. Do you know what I mean? But some managers don't do that well, and players can become isolated and fall out of love with the game. And I'd say you can easily fall out of love with the game when you're on the bench. You're not even on the bench at this stage.
No, I was on the bench for the first 5 or 6 games, but being on the bench or being not in the squad is the same thing for any player. You're not playing. You want to play.
And what kind of relationship have you got with your teammates?
I'm fine. I was probably closest to David Myler, I'd say. He was very good to me. We both lived in the same village in Hull. And I kind of got on well with a couple of other players. Like, I wouldn't say any of them were my friends.
Yeah.
Hull wasn't a bad environment. It just didn't work out for me. It's worked out for lots of people.
It's just you got unlucky with the manager, I'd say.
Well, that's what I believe. People might say, I know you weren't good enough or whatever, but I'm entitled to have my own opinion. So,
was there any option or talk about going out on loan?
I went to go training with Rotherham.
Yeah.
But as I said, my head was a mess. I didn't give a good account to myself then.
Yeah.
So that's when I finished up there, and I came home and decided what I was going to do. So yeah.
Do you know when you say like you were training away, but your head was a mess? How, like, can you explain a little bit about like what kind of mental state you were in? I was
just felt under savage pressure when I was playing. My career wasn't going in the way I wanted it to, even though I put in so much hard work. So yeah, I was just constantly thinking about that, thinking about other things. What am I going to do after football? There's no way I can live without football. But then obviously I attempted suicide, and that was my way out, if you like.
Yeah, and without going into too much detail, but do you want to tell us a little bit about not the suicide attempt, but maybe the days leading up to it and what happened afterwards?
I can. I wasn't sleeping at the time, so Bailey was there, and she wouldn't even know that I got up. I'd go out driving in my car, just around the village or around town or whatever, just contemplating what I'm going to do. And then I made the decision what I was going to do. I was going swimming in the morning at like 7 o'clock before training, and to get to the pool and to come back was a really dangerous road. So I decided I was going to crash my car. So that way, if I did die, people would think that it was an accident. So that's basically what I was doing, but I couldn't physically do that. So then I just took a massive overdose then.
You know, like, for anybody that's listening here now, can you just explain how you actually felt, that real sense of hopelessness that you felt?
Yeah.
You know, because I have felt it before, and in my own close-knit family, like my mother committed suicide. Her partner would have committed suicide, Brendan. So I know what it's like for a family member, but because of them committing suicide, there was a little, when I was really at my worst and wanting a way out, there was a sense of pride really stopped me from carrying through with it, you know. And I noticed, like, to feel that real sense of hopelessness, but something else kind of pushed the pride thing, kind of pushed me not to do it, you know. So can you just explain how you felt?
I suppose I did feel terrible. Now, you can feel it in your stomach. You can feel it physically. Like, for it to be quite honest with you, I still think about suicide a lot.
Yeah.
But I have my son, and no one's going to father my son, only myself. So that's such a huge protective thing for me. And that's not to say that Bailey and my parents and other people don't contribute to it. They do. I love football so much that when it worked out so badly for me, I was so heartbroken. That's why I wanted to end my life, because I just was so heartbroken.
But you've a lot to live for now.
Oh, I do, yeah. I'm really positive now.
Yeah.
And I started a new medication recently called clozapine, and it's been like a miracle drug for me.
Yeah.
It's helped me so much.
Do you know when you overdosed, did somebody find you? Did you end up in hospital?
I had the car door open, and I took the medication and downed it with a bottle of wine, and I left the door of my car open, and I could feel myself kind of going in and out of consciousness or whatever, and the next thing I knew, I woke up and I was in the hospital. So yeah, it was quite strange.
Were you in the hospital for a while?
I was in the hospital for 2 days in Hull, and then I went to Manchester for 3 months. So I spent 3 months in the psychiatric unit there.
What was that like?
It wasn't very pleasant, to be honest.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but you had full-time care, which I needed at the time because I still wanted to die. So yeah, I was very lucky with the care I got.
I'd say your family must have been heartbroken for you.
Yeah, they were. They spent a lot of time over in Manchester because that's where I was.
Yeah.
My mum described it to me a couple of weeks ago. She said it's like going out on a sunny day and having an umbrella up over your head. I was like, what do you mean? She said, because we're waiting for the rain to fall. The rain falling being my life come crashing down again.
Yeah. Well, I can relate with that because I've been in situations where I would have been hospitalised through drugs, overdoses and stuff like that, and I would have had suicide attempt too. But like the family coming up to you and they're just powerless, you know what I mean? They just want what's best for you, but you just can't think straight, you can't see way out, and I just felt like I was actually probably better off out of their lives. I was better off dead because all I bring to the family is a ball of negativity, and I convinced myself that I was better off out of the equation. Do you know what I mean? And that's where we go with it. Like, it's not like a selfish thing to do to try and take your own life or to just take a load of drugs. It's just you convince yourself that you're better off doing that and staying away from them. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know the way your mother would have felt? Just like the analogy you gave there, a lot of parents that have drug addicted kids feel the exact same way. It's like they're waiting for the knock at the door or the phone call to say that they're after dying of a drug overdose or they're after being killed. You know, so that's quite common. It's just a different way because your mother was worried you that you might try to take your own life again. But when you're in addiction, your life could be taken at any moment because of the amounts of drugs that you put into your system. Your body mightn't be able to handle them. You know, drug overdose and jams,
violence and crashes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just risky lifestyle. Yeah,
it's just the lifestyle in general.
But it's the same. It's the same. It's very similar to what you experienced, to what we experience in terms of being in a headspace where you're problem where it's like self-harming, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're living you're in a headspace where your life is on the edge at any moment. It can be taken, and the mother and the father are waiting for the phone call from the hospital or the priest or anything, you know. So you were in the hospital anyway in Manchester for 3 months.
Yeah.
When you got out of it, did you come home?
I did. I came home for 2 weeks, and I was petrified because I didn't know who knew or all this kind of stuff. And then we went back to Hull, and I finished up my contract and all the legal stuff, and then we moved to Manchester. So we got an apartment there in Media City, and it was brilliant. So we lived there for a year. My son was born. Son was born in Manchester, and 3 months later we moved back to Cork. So we've been in Cork since, and it's been really nice having people around that.
Yeah.
You know, people that I'm close to.
Yeah. What was how was Hull? What way was the club when you were in hospital?
When I was in hospital, the club doctor was brilliant. Mark Waller, he's the Rangers doctor now at the moment. He was brilliant with me.
We won't hold that against him.
No, I know. He was a Liverpool doctor before that.
We won't hold that against him either.
Yeah, no, he was really good, and
Yeah.
they were all really good. They really helped me kind of finish up in an amicable way or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So there was no like bad blood.
No, I had bad blood for a certain individual,
Yeah.
but I won't go into that.
Yeah.
But other than that, like I don't look back on Hull as a bad part of my life.
Yeah.
It's just that what happened, and I think just as some people say, when your number's up, it's up, I think it was inevitable that this was going to happen to me.
Did you, so you retired, so not because of physical injury,
No.
but because of your mental health?
Yeah.
Was that on doctor's orders, or
Yeah.
did you come to that decision yourself?
Well, it was a combination of both, really.
Yeah.
I knew and accepted myself that I wouldn't be able to go into a football environment. It would just make my mental health deteriorate again. So, kind of speaking with the doctors, we all agreed that it would be the best thing for me not to continue.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing, I think.
Yeah. And you know, when you come home to Cork then, I said it was good to be home, is it, of your friends
Brilliant.
and family around you?
People think Ireland and England are very similar. They're not. I think they're very, very different. So yeah, I suppose you like what you're used to, and I love Cork, and I love the people, and I love Ireland. So
Yeah.
And
Go on.
do you know what? It's a few years ago, for somebody's mental health to be in a bad situation, you know, it was different. Nowadays, there's no shame in somebody saying, do you know what, I'm struggling. There's absolutely no shame in it, because I would have done it myself, you would have done it, you know what it's like. And like, the more we talk about this, and the more young people particularly, and other ages, listen to it and understand that it's okay to talk about these issues, the more people's lives are going to be saved.
absolutely. I heard this recently that for a person to face adversity and come out the other side, it's like buying a ticket to a destination you never thought you could go to.
The unknown.
And it was like, just like, say if you're to put that in yourself or Timmy's.
Yeah.
You faced adversity, you got out the other end of it, and you now have done college degrees. You never would have thought you would have gotten to that point.
No. And the person that I am today anyway, I would never be the person I am today if I didn't go through all that hardship, because I'm just grateful for my health and my opportunities that I have in my life today, you know. And like, you've been through an awful lot as well, but now you can, you know, you're in a better place today, and you have your partner, your family and your child, and you can appreciate all that, you know.
Absolutely.
What age you?
I'm 26.
You're still a young man, Brian. Like, your life is like, I was 31 when I stopped using, like, and that's when my life started, you know. And then I'm 40 now, and that's from the age of 31 up to where I am now. There was a lot of really difficult times, because I had to face all the shit that I'd done in addiction, all the stuff I was full of shame for, all the stuff I had a load of guilt for. I had all my fears and stuff, and it wasn't until, no, I don't want to be saying something like it takes a certain amount, but I had a lot of issues to deal with, you know, and it took me a lot of therapy. I was seeing different forms of counsellors and psychologists and psychotherapists for about 6 years of the beginning, you know, and meditation was a massive thing. And I always mention meditation because I don't know who's listening, you know, and they might need to hear meditation is something that could help them with their mental health, or help them with their awareness or whatever, you know. So it's very important, basically, like they get these stories out there and
definitely.
You know?
Do you know, like, looking back now, do you think that for young fellas now that's in your position, they're probably the best? They're probably the best at their club, right? They're on the Cork schoolboys leagues. Do you know, they're looking at a career. That's where they're heading. Do you think that it's risky for a young person in that situation to put all their eggs in one basket in terms of the football and kind of maybe drop out of education or maybe take their eye off work? Because if it doesn't work out for you, you're kind of, you know, like there was no plan B.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think having a plan B is unbelievably important, especially when you see players going to England at 16. I think it's far too young, to be honest. And people say, yeah, but from 16 to 18, all the coaching every day you're going to get is going to be more than what you could get in Ireland. And that's true up to a certain extent. But like, I just think education is hugely important to do both side by side. I think the oldest, say, a player playing with Cork City in Turner's Cross doing well and is 23, they can go at 23. 23, 24, I think, is like the cut-off point
pushing it like that
to go to England.
Yeah.
But players are going to go at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So you can do your leaving cert up until you're 19, get it done.
Yeah.
And then you have, however, you have 20, 21, 22, 23, 4 years to learn your craft and get good at it, and then get spotted and brought over.
And as players went from City abroad late enough, didn't Kevin Doyle?
Kevin Doyle, yeah.
He went over late enough. I think Shawnee was in his 20s. Shawnee Maguire.
22, maybe, 23.
Yeah, so it's, you don't have to be...
That's what I'm trying to say. If people are like, well, I can't do well in school and well in football, I need to just do football because that's what I love. You can do both. You might get the greatest leaving cert, but at least you have it.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's important, even like, just to have an interest or have your eye on something. Do you know what I mean? Just, you know, don't put all your eggs into one basket.
Yeah, you're limiting your options then.
You could, and as I said,
it sounds like a relationship. It sounds from me looking back and looking at your relationship with football. It was like a love story.
Oh yeah.
It was like and then all of a sudden, like, one of you fell out of love, you know, and then it just went bad. That's how relationships, some men do get very, very, very depressed, and women when relationships...
You hit the nail on the head. Yeah. It's a relationship.
Yeah. You know, and there's a love for it. And I can see with you that you were very, very passionate about football. Like, you know, it wasn't about... We all hear the stories about how much money Premiership footballers are on, but when you're very passionate about something and you love it so much, you know, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Brian? And I can see that. I can see it, that you really loved football and shows, you know. You know, and listen, your story is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really, like...
Thank you.
And when I say fantastic, I mean in a sense that it's going to help a lot of people.
Well, that's I don't like the sound of my own voice, or I don't like being on camera, but like
we get used to it.
If it helps someone, and I mean one person, like as I said, when I've done other stuff, people have messaged me and said, "Oh, this was great," blah blah blah. So it's a positive thing, and I'm only happy to do it.
Yeah, no, it's
like
brilliant.
Your story is like, I'm sure it's have to happen to a lot of other footballers as well. You know, something being so passionate about something, and something like that happens.
Was it the German or Dutch keeper you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, Robert Enke. Robert Enke was a German national goalkeeper. He would have been around the time of Oliver Kahn, so he would have been probably the German number 2, but still a top class goalkeeper, Champions League level, do you know? But suffered with very, very poor mental health throughout his career, and ended up he died by suicide. He went out in front of a train. Yeah, there's a great book about him out. I'll actually leave the link in the description of this video. Robert Enke. But you know, you touched on something there around footballers. Like, a footballer has a lot of status. Sometimes they have a lot of money if they're in the Premier League, especially. But they're not superheroes either, and they're human like me. You, 2 arms, 2 legs. And it doesn't matter if you're on 100 grand a week. If you do your anterior cruciate ligament and you're over 12 months, you're going to be disappointed. It's going to affect you, because every footballer in the world, no matter who you are, and how much money you're on, they grew up loving football and playing on the street like us. They played schoolboys like us. They're in it for the love of it first and foremost. Like when you play football because you love it. The money is always kind of secondary, you know. And I often you'd see fellas there, you know. Sometimes fellas come off the field with injuries and they're in tears, you know, because you know the long road ahead.
Yeah.
And if you're after an injury before that, it doesn't matter. The money is not in your mind.
I was bawling. I was in the treatment room in Hull and all the players were coming in and out. And I was bawling my eyes out. Another year of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be disheartening, can't it? Tell me this: is there a good team of psychologists and doctors around their players when they do get injured? Because I think there's
a psychologist, but when we were there, I don't think a lot of people went to see him, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think everyone was ignorant to how that could help them.
I think that's the masculine side.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
But you could have went to the doctor and say, oh, like I did, I said I don't feel well, and he sent me to see a psychiatrist. That was at the very beginning. So like if you ask for help, you'll get help, and they'll go above and beyond for you no matter what.
Do you know what's popping into my head now? Is for clubs to have somebody that has gone through it, you know, senior players that have gone through that, and from to be on call to talk to people,
like a mentor.
Like and that would really help them, just give them a little bit of advice on how to deal with stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know, because from listening to your own story, Brian, and like it could have been a really lonely place because you felt like you were on your own, and then as you said earlier, all the younger players were coming up and they were good as well, and you start getting these thoughts that you're never going to get in there again.
Football doesn't wait for anybody.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
And it's very business orientated as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But I'm going to ask you a few questions I asked Garrod.
No bother.
Who's the best player you played against?
Martin Samuelson. He was at West Ham and he played in that under-21 cup final, and he was just so good. Really? Brilliant. He was at Man City and then he went to West Ham, and I played against him in that game and he turned me inside out a few times.
What was his name? Martin
Samuelson.
Must look him up.
Who's he playing with now?
I'm not sure who's with at the moment. I don't think his career has gone up, but
he was a class at that level anyway.
Brilliant.
The best player you played with?
It's a very easy answer. That's Colin Healy.
Garrod said the same thing.
The same answer.
I was saying to James, my first training with Cork City, I was still with Corinthians and they just brought me out to train. Colin burst my nose and I was pissing blood, and I was just looking like, is he going to say sorry to me or no sorry, nothing. Next tackle, I went in hard on him, but no, he's brilliant. The story going around, I think it was Clinton Morrison. Did he play with Ireland?
He did, yeah.
He told a story of Roy Keane and some young Cork guy with the under-21s kicking lumps out of each other. That was Colin Healy. And Roy, they played seniors against 21s in a match. They were kicking lumps out of each other. So they'd never seen anything like it.
Very similar players too, weren't they?
Oh, Colin's unbelievable. Honestly, what a player.
Very cool
and
head.
What a person and what a manager he's going to be.
Yeah.
I just hope he's given the time and any bit of money they do have to build a good side.
Yeah, and I remember, I know Colin Healy well, obviously. Like, he reminded me kind of like Michael Carrick.
Yeah.
Kind of has that build, tall and slim, very comfortable on the ball, both feet, always calm, always looks like they have a bit of space, you know. And he just seems like a gent of a man.
Unbelievable.
And I hope they do well. And we might see out in Cork City.
Yeah, definitely. Bailey's big into football, more so than me. So she'll be dragging me out.
You've no affinities with any clubs at the moment?
No.
Would you consider going back to Corinthians in a coaching role or something in the future, maybe?
Maybe when Roman gets to that age, if he wants to play all.
Yeah, maybe.
I heard Knockney Celtic are looking for a right back. if you're ever thinking. No, Molly ball happened. No, but Jesus, you know, it'd be great to go back into your own club at some stage and maybe help the younger players.
No, you're right.
Up.
You're right.
Maybe even as Timmy was saying, maybe as a mentor to the younger guys coming up. If not a coach, you know.
I suppose I don't have a platform on social media to offer my services. I'm not qualified or anything, but if anyone does want to talk to me, I'm open. I don't judge anybody.
Exactly. You don't need a platform. You're Brian Lenihan, and you're well known and you're well respected. You know, people understand who you are and you know your contribution to Cork City, and the trajectory you were on, and I can speak as a fan of Cork City at the time, and as a fan of yourself, because when my nephews were out with Corinthians, you used to come back and do a bit of training with them as well, you know. So I was heartbroken for you when it happened.
Yeah.
But it's an honour to talk to you here today.
No, I'm privileged to be able to talk about these things with you, and you've obviously done this from the ground up. And as I said, the honesty when you're talking about your own problems, so wow.
Yeah,
nothing but respect.
Yeah, and it's mutual, believe me. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
To talk with us. Thanks Timmy, thanks Rowan, and we'll see everybody again next week. See you later.
Cheers, lads.
Bye.